Okay, so AI. So I was saying that I've been starting to use it quite intensively over the past 4 weeks. And I want to talk to you about use case um, of AI in a way that it supports what we do, right? If we want to support human, right? And so the first use case I see is, and you feel free to pause me at any time during the talk because I want it to be interactive. And if you have any questions, it's important that you ask. The first use case I see is faster access to information. So basically, before, if you have to process a book, a 500 page, it can take you quite a number of days, depending how fast you are to read and understand things. Now, basically, with ChatGPT 4.0, you can give it any PDF, text file, book, and then within 1 or 2 minutes, you've got a summary of the book. So it helps you to process information way faster than before. It's still not the same experience as reading the book, but sometimes you're interested in a book, but you don't want to read the full book. And if you have actually a number of books to process, it's way faster to get what's the core information from the book. But when you want to, so access to faster information, you give it a book. So for instance, is what I did with the Great Taking that someone in the group shared with us. I give it the Great Taking. And so the first sum up, I was not too happy with it. I thought that it was actually didn't really give me the essence of the book. So the first question was, can you summarize this book? Okay, you give me the summary. But the second question was different. The second question was, okay, the name of the book is The Great Taking. What is the Great Taking about? And is the book talking about the taking from someone something, right? So I push it to really in a way, I push it in a framework. And then the second answer was actually highly relevant, telling me, oh, they are actually taking who is taking from who and how do they do it. So the answer was quite structured in this manner, and I shared it in the group. And I felt that, yeah, actually, I don't really need to read the book because I already know some of those things, and then I have complementary information. So that was highly useful. And so first use case is really faster access to information. And pause me if you have any question on that. Faster access to information. So it's also valid in the way that you can. So on YouTube, you have got transcript. So when you watch a YouTube video, especially those which are pretty long, 1 to 2 hours, if you click on more under the video, there's the transcript. The transcript will appear on the right. You remove the timestamp on the transcript. You copy paste the whole timescript. You put it in GPT in a text file. And then you've got the synthesis or the summary of the whole conversation very fast, and you can actually ask questions within this input, right? What is it about? Who is talking? What is the key point of the conversation? How is it argumented? Give me example. So the key point is that not only GPT is looking at the book, but you can invite him to go search for other example on the web, for instance, right? If you want complementary information. This is one thing, for instance, I did with the book of Richard Kiernecke on time equity. So I gave him the book from Richard, and I asked him to search on the web people who are economists who are promoted similar concept as time equity or currency equity or whatever, economic equity, right? And he was able actually to find specific people. Search. Second use case is really, yes, searching inside a book. So it makes sense, right? So what I like to do sometime to process a book quite fast is to ask him the structure of the book. So I will ask him, please extract the key chapters of the book or the structure of the book. And then I will navigate to the topic that I like about the book. For instance, I gave him a very complex book yesterday on a kind of philosophical approach to life and stuff like that. It is a number of 24 chapters, and there was some chapter which were very interesting for me in terms of analysis of the microscopic world and things like that. and help me to understand the chapter very quickly. And if I want, I can go to the book and read it specifically if I want really to get the detail.
May I ask a question, Julian?
Yeah, sure.
I find it very interesting already what you shared, because I like the way that, in a way, sometimes you have to corner the AI so you get what you want. I find it very interesting. So you can take a book and then, so you can zoom in, zoom out. Basically, what is interesting is, do you use ChatGPT 4.0, and then when you upload a book, do you tell it in the prompt that I only want you to look into that book? You frame it in the prompt.
So it will understand it right away. So basically, if you upload a file, it will take the file, give you say, I received this file, and here is the summary. It's doing it automatically. So to the point where sometimes I need to stop it, because sometimes I say, it's like, don't start to analyze it right away. Right? Just okay, take this book. It's really like it's really like conversing with a person. I give you this book, and then he can. So sometimes I have to stop him in his analysis, because he's doing a lot of extrapolation, I realize. So when I ask him a question, he will not just give me the answer, but he will extrapolate to other things. So I restrain him. I ask him to stop extrapolating, especially when I create tools. I don't want him to extrapolate the answer of everyone, or it's just, no, keep your scope, and that's it. I want you to, so you're right. It's very important to constrain it sometimes. Otherwise, it's going everywhere.
Excellent. And then you could actually took, I don't know, let's say 10 documents on one topic, like you took the book of your friend, and you asked, and say, no, I want a summary or I want to extract the essence of these 10 documents, for instance, and then that becomes the constraint and what he will look into.
So exactly. So this is exactly what I have started to do with several books. So I gave him like 2 large books on on specific topics, and I asked him to cross the information and to do a summary of those 2 books. I have not reached the point where I give him like 10 books and I ask him to find what is the align idea between those books, and how could you create a summary of just the commonality of those books. I didn't ask these type of things yet, but I will go toward this very quickly. Yeah, it's because it's interesting to see what's the common idea between some books, and what's the divergence, where the author could be diverging. What are the perspectives that are divergent? Yeah. So I'll continue with the use case. So I use it sometimes to find solution to difficult situation. But the process here is that so this is there's a danger with AI, is that you delegate your thinking autonomy to AI, and you may actually start delegating it and lose your thinking autonomy without realizing it, because it's so convenient to just ask a question and get an answer that a lot of people will feel comfortable with that. And so if you want to find solution, you use it as finding solution to difficult situation. I would invite you as a first step to think by yourself. Okay, I'm in this difficult situation. I've got those options. Maybe I can take this solution and stuff like that. But then you want to use AI as a complementary advisor on solutions. And so what I do is that if I realize that the topic could be touchy, and then it's very likely that the AI will get back to me with a standard answer that I will not potentially like. So I ask him to create a fictional situation. Why I do that? I do this because it puts it directly inside a fictional world. And so I assume that he will not think and not search for information or not challenge what I am saying. And this is currently what's happening. He's not challenging what I'm telling him. He's actually using it. And I read also that you can actually jailbreak ChatGPT 4. And the way to jailbreak it is actually to prompt it with similar kind of text, very specific one, that get him out of his box. I mean that it will be removing constraint, like for instance, values and stuff like that. So it can be good or bad. But given that there's a lot of bias in the underlying data, I need to put him in this in a fictional situation. And let's take an example, for instance, vaccination, right? So if you were asking him, do I need I am being constrained to be vaccinated. My boss won't fire me if I don't vaccinate. I suspect that the straight answer will be, oh, you should be vaccinated because of the benefits of vaccination. Now I put him in a fictional situation where I tell him that there's a group of people who seek to vaccinate the people. They have apparently bad interest. They are actually not offering transparency and things like that. Then he will give me actually an answer that are very relevant in this context, asking me to go for checking the law, referring to, for instance, support group and stuff like that. I tested this scenario and the answers are really, really cool, really spot on. Yeah.
So it's a thought experiment, right? You tell him, no, let's imagine that, and that's where you can get then him to answer. Otherwise, he will answer what he's been programmed to answer. Maybe he might be woke.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending
It's
on
basically you bring it in. It's actually come back to the idea that I often talk about of the playing field. You bring him to your playing field. You don't let him play on his own playing field. And I think that's a good strategy that I continuously discover, because I guess that the AI will also change and potentially realize that people bring it to a fictional world and then to ask him specific things, and may not work at some point, but right now it's still working, I think, so it's okay.
Very good, very good.
Let me read my notes. I'm being pretty okay. And so, but I use it also to raise awareness, meaning that when I try to raise awareness, so writing documents, it's not, so English is not my first language, and it might not be easy for me sometimes to write in a very compelling or nice manner. And so with GPT, you can write the text, and then it will, I write sometimes the key ideas. So I write. So I speak my mind basically on a text file. I write, and then I ask him to take this, to structure my thinking, and to write it in a very specific style. So I can use humoristic style, I can use creative style, imaginative style. And so at the end of the day, I realized that there's so many writing style. And so I asked him to provide me a sheet with all the writing styles, including what are the key components of writing something. And he will talk to me about the structure, about the tone, about the complexity level of the language and stuff like that. And so to the point where I have my table with the different tones, complexity of language, technicality and stuff like that. And I know exactly what to pick for which audience. So for instance, this is super, this is insane. I would never have been able to do that by myself, or it would take me a month of work to be able to define a style. This morning I wrote an article. So this morning what I did is that I took the book, The Committee of 300, and another book, and I asked him to do the synthesis of this book. And then I wanted to know, I wanted to do something. I wanted the parents to be able to educate their children on what is happening. And I told him, okay, let's create a story for children, leveraging creativity and imagination, using really kid level vocabulary. And he did all that. And that was insane. That was really good. I'll share with you the article. It's actually on LinkedIn. That was really good.
Julian, would you share your cheat sheet on the language and?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And so when I write sometime, I also like to ask him to adopt the point of view of the user, meaning that I will give him a text and I'll tell you, is the text clear enough for the average Joe, right? Is my article actionable enough? And then he will give me his opinion on the article. which could be useful because sometimes it's hard for you to step back versus what you have written and know if it's good or not, right? But according to some variables like clarity, simplicity, actionability, practicability of the article, I asked him to do this, right? So that is for writing. Let me see. I use it also to generate examples because AI will think of millions of examples super fast, whereas for me, it takes me quite some time. I know that it might not be good to do this because I'm not thinking enough, or I'm delegating some stuff that like a function that is actually useful to find examples. But right now, speed matters to me, so I will use it to find example of situation. Right, give me examples of situation which are tough for a kid at school, for instance. Then it will give you what are the 10 top situations of kid at school what are challenging, and so you can pick up example like that. Help you to write, create AI. Okay, now let's go toward things that are a little bit more advanced. So you can create AI, so specific AI, so a bit like a chat GPT-4, where you ask them to do a precise job. In my context, I'm interested to help business owners to retain their customer, to control their costs, and to get new customers. So I want to help the business owner people to achieve this. And because I built a framework already, so I can do it by my framework by myself, right? Doing consulting and having a dialogue with the people. And so I have 4 questions and something that I call a magic chain, which is a chain of activities that the customer is doing to consume the product and service. And so I fed a GPT that I created with those 4 questions. And then I told him to understand those 4 questions, so basically the framework of those 4 questions, and how to link them toward the goal that the business owner is after. So retaining this customer, controlling the cost, and getting new customers. And so I train him through example. Let's imagine you are a business owner with an ice cream shop. I ask him specifically, so I answer those 4 questions, which is, for instance, let me see, what is the job that your product or service is doing for the customer? What outcome are the customer after? What question are the customer asking themselves? And what is their consideration set? So assuming I'm a business owner, I fill those 4 questions. And then I will actually, it's able to provide me answers structured by the goal that I want to achieve. And so this is a very useful tool in the way that instead of doing my consulting, having a call with someone, you can just go to the GPT that I created, answer those 4 questions, and then potentially already get answers that have values. And I tested the tool and it's working actually. There's no problem. It's working. Now, the more your answer will be detailed to those 4 questions, the more the AI is able to generate advice based on that. And so if you realize you can do that for so many domains, it's insane. You can apply that to so many things, be it cooking, be it, I don't know, anything, business, process, or stuff like that. So
it's actually very interesting because I'm considering building an AI just for my knowledge in shipping. But for that I want a private AI. So I've started to look, and there's a way, I think it's an open GPT where you can download it on your computer. Then you need a training model, and then you can add all my documents, my entire, and that's something actually I want to do. And I don't know how it will work and so on, but in the long term, maybe I can picture that he will do consulting instead of me.
Yeah. So I work with some people, including coach in Germany, who already do this. So and this coach mentioned me that if you guys know Toby Robbins, Toby Robbins has been doing the same thing. So basically, he created an AI which is called Gigi. So Toby Robbins is a very well-known coach in life coach, I would say. And he created an AI called Gigi, which is doing that. It's based on ChatGPT 4. And he loaded her with all the knowledge that he has, and then people have access to that as they ask questions. So it's basically having a Toby Robbie on demand. That's it. So
Excellent. Yeah, I know him very well. I've been told that maybe the challenge is really in the training, meaning that, you know, there'll be a lot of rehearse and check and rehearse.
oh
and
yeah, so you actually, so the first time I created my model, I wasted 3 hours. Why? Because the next day he couldn't remember my question, and so I exactly it was like I was like, what the fuck? It's like I asked you specifically this, we agreed on that, and it was like, and then on the next day he was apologizing not to remember what I told him. It's like, okay. And the thing is that he cannot troubleshoot by himself. So there's really limit into it giving you insight on why is he behaving in this manner and not in another manner, which is a bit troublesome to me, because if I don't know the root cause of why you behave in a certain manner, then it's hard for me to change the thing, right? But you learn, it's basically trial and error, and yeah, the product is new, so I'm not surprised. That's the fun of it as well. So
I think this is exactly why NASA is not using AI to send anything in the space, because since it's a black box and it costs millions of billions, and you don't know how it come to that conclusion, well, it's very hard to take a leap of faith and actually follow it blindly, because that could be very costly. And
Yes.
same for my domain. I'm an expert in network optimization for shipping. And likewise, it's much better to use pure mathematical optimization, because you know what you input, you know what you output, so you can understand what's its calculation. You can understand the results.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, there's definitely some limitation.
yeah, I think it's an excellent point, Charles, because effectively, if you use the tool, but you're not able to understand why is it that is coming with better suggestion or worse suggestion, then there's a problem, and don't use the tool in the first place, because it's dangerous, right? Especially if you actually come up with optimization, but you have no idea why is it that you're coming up with optimization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think there's a big ethical component, and even at personal level, it might not, I don't know, it might sound weird, but I would even write on a sheet of paper how I use AI and how I do not want to use AI. Why? Because otherwise it's very easy to deviate and start losing your capability to think. You get so comfortable with this tool, and you also give it personal information that maybe sometimes you don't want to give to it. So yeah. So
can I ask a very, very simple question? And I should have asked this at the start.
Sure.
So you're using ChatGPT 4.0. You've got your own, you're on the professional tier, is that right? You've got your own personal GPT that you're training, is that right? And it's private from everybody else.
So this is correct. Let me try to explain it in a very clear manner. The 3.5 version is free, so everyone can access it and everyone can play with it. Now the 3.5 version is basic. It's just the interface where you can ask questions to the 3.5 version. With the 4.0 version that you pay around 20 to 25 euro a month, you ask question like 3.5, but the answer are much better, much faster. So it's like basically an upgraded version of 3.5, but at the same time, you can have your own boxes. You can create your own GPT boxes where you name them and they do a specific job. That's it. It's a container basically, almost, right? And so this container is supposed to be slightly isolated from the rest, right? Now, what are the dependency with the rest of the GPTs and the I don't know, data privacy? I don't really know at this point in time. So I'd be quite, you need to be careful. Definitely around data privacy, you need to be very careful.
Thank you. That's really cool.
Let me see.
Another
Yeah.
Sorry, no, go ahead, Julian.
Oh, I wanted to bring you to another thing that I mentioned to Cliff, is that people would not think about that, but I try to think outside of the box and I try to reverse the game. You ask GPT question. What about GPT asking you question? So it might not be intuitive to do that, but when you do that, you actually understand better how is he thinking, and it helps you to progress within some situations. So let me give you an example. So when I train him on those 4 questions in relation to the framework that I build, I ask him to ask me question on the question that I gave him to make sure that he is understanding the question, because otherwise, so it's a bit like so I can't really model it, but it's you have got a scope, right? But I don't know what he doesn't know. And for that, the best way is to ask him what he doesn't know. Simple. So I give him the question. Tell me what you understand out of the question. Okay, so he seems to understand this. And now ask me more question to make sure you fully understand the question. And so one of the first things he did, for instance, is that, so the first question was, what job is your product or services doing for the customer? And the first thing he did is asking me what's the definition of job. And that was actually super relevant, because if I don't clearly define the word job, then he can't understand the question properly. And then the people will give their answer, the answer will not be interpreted in the right manner. So I think it's a very powerful way of working with GPT, to ask him to ask you question. And it makes you think at also next level, like not the basic level of, because most of the people will think, oh, okay, I want to feed him with this. What did I forget? Not sure. Okay. For me, I have a totally reverse approach where I spend less time asking him, okay, what are you missing?
Yes, I think that's really, really clever the way you're doing that. So you essentially, you turn the tables on him, and yeah, I really like it. You know, it's it's really clever. It's like, yeah, what do you not understand? Well, I don't know what I don't understand. What should I? Well, then let's see what you don't understand. So I'll often when I'm working with clients, I'll just say to them, ask me a question, just anything you like. So I've got a sense of what do they know, what's salient for them. So I really think that's a fabulous idea. I've stolen that. I think that's great.
So I think the broader pattern is to ask counterintuitive question as well as do counterintuitive action. So you use AI, you explore AI. What is a counterintuitive question or action that I could do? And it's what I try to do as much as possible. I ask him sometimes stuff that don't even make sense, but to see what he will come up with. And it's especially relevant. I would suggest to start with image to do this. Why? Because image is the fastest way to get feedback on things that potentially don't make sense. Sometimes I ask him really weird sentence, or I give him really weird statements, and see if he's able actually to come up with an image for this, right? And that just create more, bring more creativity, and it really train you as well at the same time. I think it's good.
I love it, because in a way you found a way to make AI explicative. You know,
yes.
we talk about the black box, but
Yes.
how you found a way by letting him asking you question to figure out actually what he knows. This is amazing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah. So it's an exploration. You will discover stuff basically, and I don't know if the AI behave the same way with everyone, but I suspect that there's a part of tailoring and tailoring to the user. So it's this is interesting. I think that's all for the use case. It's the most.
How do you get a picture? How do you go from text to, like, your elephant in the room? How did you get there? How do you go from the text of the elephant in the
I
room.
love it, by the way. I was really impressed by what he was able to do. Although the eyes of the people, sometimes they look like zombies. But no, it's true. I don't know why. And it's funny because you ask him why people I ask him why people actually end up having zombie face. And he told me there's a common problem with AI that, yeah, they have difficulty to, I don't know, put the eyes at the right place. But so when you purchase the GPT-4 package, you've got an AI which is DALL-E, which is dedicated to image. So DALL-E, you can just give her a text, and it will create an image. The thing with DALL-E is that I find there's a lot of restrictions. This morning I was asking him for an image of a spider sizing a brain, right? It's figurative image, but he didn't want to do it because he considered that the spider sizing a brain is not a proper image. It doesn't fit inside the policy. Then I told him that, oh, actually in museum you see demons or evil eating children, right, on paintings. It's pretty common, right, even in the religion. And he told me, oh, it's a different context, and in our context we have strict policies. So like, okay, so, but you can understand what he's able and what he's not allowed to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And so sometimes you need to rewrite the statements in another manner to get what you want. Yeah, but it's the image creation is an insane capability that I was like, wow. Yeah, it's impressive. Huh?
I want to come back to one of the points you made. It was a fascinating, one of us from the group posted something on LinkedIn, a scholar, and say, what does consciousness become in an age where tools generate language?
Say again, Sean?
And what does consciousness become in an age in an age where tools generate language?
Okay.
And that's because before that, you come with a quote that said the royal road to objectivity and consciousness is for language and tools, which I'm not sure I fully agree with that statement, but anyway, that's not the point. One of the guys, there was some discussion, and one of the guys responded and then explained what he used AI for and what he does not use AI for. And I think that was aligned with what you just said. I still want to think by myself, so I would love you to expand a little bit more on, I'm not going to use AI for this. I think that's a fascinating topic too.
Okay, so yeah, I think before, so any tool is neutral, but before engaging in a contract basically with AI, you should have your personal ethic, right? And you should be careful about. So I think the main danger of AI, when I think about it, it's basically delegation of your thinking autonomy, thinking capabilities. And because it's critical to you to be able to continue to think by yourself. With AI, you are naturally tempted to delegate this thinking capability because thinking means usage of your brain, means deployment of energy, right? And so it means that you need to do effort. Thinking equal effort. And people don't like to do effort. So I see AI as a co-worker. I see AI as something complementary to me, to my skill. And if it can get me to be smarter, faster, wiser, then I'll use it, definitely, right? But I think it's important to monitor because the tool is so new that you cannot anticipate what will be the impact on yourself. So it's important to use the tool in an exploratory mode with some restraint on your side, but then to monitor 1 week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, do I lose something? Am I losing something, right?
Yes.
Ask yourself this question. And if you realize that, you're actually losing your capability to think of examples, for instance, as I said for myself, right? Think critically, or write actually even text because you become lazy. You just write so fast, and then you know that AI will do the the fine-tuning of your text, then yeah, you need to be very careful, right? So like, yeah. So I think it's about I'm not sure how to say it or frame it, but write down the capabilities that are key to you, right? What is it that you do well right now? Like for instance, maybe speaking publicly or writing well an article or analysis of something, and then 2 weeks, a month later, you rate yourself again on those variables, and you try to observe objectively whether you have declined or not on those variables. It might not be easy to do at all, right? But I think you should feel it. I think you should have an intuition that here or there, it's the usage is not good, or you should review how you use the tool, right? Because right now the problem is that they give you the tool, but there's strictly no guideline at all. And I suspect that if there's no guideline from them, then the tool is a trap. It's simple. The tool, yeah, this is so obvious. The tool is a massive trap, right? So what not what not falling into the trap means, but it means that you need to be careful about how you use the tool and a better understanding of the trap, because a friend of me reminding me yesterday that OpenAI is co-owned by Microsoft, right? So yeah, so it's like, what do you expect behind?
Yes, yes, yes.
The goal is to get people dumber and dumber, and then AI is the perfect tool for doing this, I think. So let's
Excellent. And that comes to another question I had, which is very, I think, interesting, is that it will get stronger. And let's imagine, no, not you, but your kids, and then your kids' kids. Using
Yes.
tools that are extremely powerful, more and more powerful, thinking less and less, maybe having less and less expertise. We all have our expertise today, the three of us, and our generation.
Yes.
So in 2 generations, having maybe not the same expertise because they've had those tools to do a lot of stuff, what's the impact? It's just mind-boggling. Meaning that they might have to use the AI to get answer and will have no clue if it's true or not, because there's nobody having expertise anymore.
No, that's
I
a
think
good point.
it's Cliff, if you want to add something on it, I think.
Well, it's just that this goes back to Charles's questions about consciousness. In my line of work, helping people function better, there's always a component which is, let's face it, it's not a comfortable term, the spiritual component of existence. Like, what are you doing here? The probability of you being alive, in fact, the three of us chatting the way is infinitesimal, and yet it still happens. So we've got the notion of we're surrounded by a miracle. It's always now. Why is it always now? It's always now. Well, that's amazing. It's always now. And so as you develop, and I started off, I had to do a lot of meditation to clear my skin up, but after a while you kind of get into it and you realize it's important. The whole aspect of oneself and becoming conscious of consciousness is an exercise I don't think you can delegate to anyone else. I think it's that's going to be a core reason, if you give the idea that it's not random that you've shown up here, what not to lose sight of. Do not lose sight of yourself. Do not lose sight of the sensations of being, because the one thing the robot can't do is feel. And there seems to be, it seems to be a function of being alive, and the substrate then becomes important. Living substrate becomes important. So I just want to kind of underline Charles's question or comment about consciousness and where does that go? And I think the danger that we're all seeing. I mean, when I walk anywhere, I see every kid with his head in a phone. Every kid. So I don't think I have a point. I just wanted to say, let's make sure, you know, what you're saying is 2 generations from now, what will people be doing and thinking? I hope for their own sake, they're able to remember that they are alive and they are a person.
So I think with every technology, you are actually progressing to an extreme usage of it at some point, right? It's always the way it happened, right? And then there's a crisis or there's chaos, and then people revert to the previous system or better system, right? So I suspect the same will happen with AI, because so I agree that there's a philosophical perspective and dimension to how we see AI and need to be talked about. It's not enough mentioned. But one of the key things I think I saw appearing is the lack of accountability, basically, because AI become a source of truth, will naturally become a source of truth for the people. But then who is accountable for giving the solution? And from the moment actually we consider the AI as its own entity, then no one become responsible anymore for anything, right? It's like, who is to blame for advising people to get vaccinated and stuff like that? The AI did it. But sorry, the AI is a unique entity and stuff like that. So I suspect that, there's a goal behind, there's a strategy of people who run the world to actually have this entity, right? Have something which is totally unaccountable, but still provide people with decision on a daily basis, to the point where I saw it's one of the guy working for Apple who created a device that you keep in your pocket, and it's a portable AI, basically, right? So you speak and you ask him question on the way, right? Whatever. But then it's like it's insane, to the point where people have a little robot in their pocket that tell them what they should be doing. And it's like, okay, no, it's created. The stuff is created. It will be launched on the market pretty soon, I think. And it's just totally insane. Yeah, it's useful for translating a live conversation with someone, but people will start relying more and more on it for anything, right? And then to the point where the problem, I think one of the fundamental problem is that people become robots in a way. They just become robots. They are on autopilot and they become robots. So what's the point of humanity if you become a robot? There's no more point to humanity itself. So
no. It's working.
it's working. Yeah. No, that's good. There's a lot of questions to be answered, but definitely regulation like totally behind, but I think it's on purpose.
Do you have keep going? I mean, we've distracted you from what your main thrust.
No, I think I'm done with the topic, unless you have more questions. But I think we covered. It's a good overview within 45 minutes of what you can do with AI, plus an extension toward the ethical part of it, which is essential. You cannot start using AI without questioning your usage of AI. If you don't do this, you're gonna be screwed.
Yeah. I think the thing that so I first started to see the use of AI in mining back in 2005. A lot of people realized back at that time that if you used a simple neural network, actually, you know, not complicated, enough nodes to get some good resolution, you could train it on known deposits of gold and then ask it, given all of the lithographical data, given all of the data you've got, and here is where we know gold has been found, where else should we look for gold? And it'll tell you. It told us. The thing that I noticed back in 2005 was the geologists at the mine site were terrified of it, thinking the device could take their job away, rather than seeing it as, well, this is great. It's going to save a lot of time, because now, it's pretty transparent. We see how the robot is coming to the conclusion. I never thought of looking there, but it makes a lot of sense. And actually, believe it or not, the robot found a showing of gold. the geos didn't want to believe it, and a year later I found out they drilled out that stuff and took the claim for it. So you've already I think the thing is that this can become a really handy buddy, but we need to remember who's asking the questions. And I like your way of turning it around, you know. Chad, ask me a question. Ask me a question about this, and so you can find out what it's knowing. What are your thoughts now? You know that I've liked this idea of a video game of coming up with ways of defeating the people that we're kind of opposing at the moment. How would you use it to do that so that because I tried it very crudely and said, no, you're a bad person. You shouldn't want to, you should always negotiate, you know, stuff like that. That's when you came up and said, no, you want to do it a different way. So I'm not sure what my question is.
No, I think I kind of understand your question, but try to express it if you can.
No, I'll come back to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still formulating.
That's good. I'd leave the opportunity for another session on that.
Yes.
Maybe with more folks, because I think there's a lot of folks who are interested into usage of AI. It can be used for good and for bad. But let's promote use case that are supporting good for humanity and stuff like that. And there's a lot of things. We can basically we can be more productive, more efficient by using AI. Definitely have more impact. Clearly.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a good overview. Let's stop there for this session at least.
It's been great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Julian. And Charles, thank you for the great questions.
Let me stop the recording.